Caught my boyfriend hiding a porn addiction after 2 years together. I thought hiding the truth would protect you, he said, crying, but his lies crushed me. I found evidence on his phone that shattered my belief in him. Can this be salvaged? Title, summary, I caught my boyfriend lying and hiding a pornography addiction. I do not usually seek relationship advice on Reddit because I am somewhat apprehensive about criticism. But recently my boyfriend and I, together for 2 years, have experienced some broken trust, and I am unsure of how to proceed from this point. It all began when I asked him a lighthearted question while watching a show, whether he still watched pornography. This made him a bit anxious, so I asked again, as the last time I inquired he claimed he no longer did. Being a very straightforward person, I am certain that I have asked him about this more than once during our relationship. He eventually said that he had not been on Safari for a while and did not want to show me what he had because it would upset me. Ultimately, I urged him to be honest with me. When he showed me his incognito browser, I discovered that some videos were still there. This impacted me deeply because, during our first year together, I made it clear that I was uncomfortable with him following Instagram models, and he agreed to unfollow them. He is also aware of my feelings about pornography and sex work since it can be quite exploitative. He maintained that he had not been watching it since the middle of last year, and I initially believed him. However, when he was asleep, I developed a nagging suspicion and felt compelled to check. I understand that it was wrong, but it ultimately provided clarity. I accessed his browser and used my Face ID on his phone to look through the incognito history, only to find that he was also using Reddit. The dates on Reddit were much more recent than mid-last year, for example, 12 days ago, 17 days ago, and 21 days ago. I cannot describe the feeling of devastation I experienced as I scrolled through his history and confirmed that he was still watching pornography. I was so overwhelmed that I burst into tears at 3 a.m. with him sleeping beside me, unsure of what to do. The following day, we had a candid conversation in which he repeatedly apologized, expressing his sincere sorrow for what I had seen on his browser. Even though I had seen his phone the previous night, I asked him to show it to me again without him knowing I had already gone through it, and I discovered that he had deleted everything. His Reddit account was entirely wiped, and only safe-for-work content remained. I questioned why his history was cleared, and he stated that it had either been deleted or he had deleted it. I cannot recall which. I apologize. Regardless, at that point, everything was gone. I should have simply confronted him with what I knew, but for some reason I found myself somewhat believing him. I thought perhaps he had shared the account with someone else and that it couldn't possibly be his. The reason I chose to believe him was his persistent apologies and the fact that it was the first time he had cried in our entire relationship. I know it sounds trivial, but it genuinely moved me. Even with evidence on my phone, I doubted myself and entertained the notion that it might have been his brother's account, which shows just how deeply rooted my denial was. The next time we saw each other was about 2 weeks later. I invited him over so we could talk. My intention was to reveal information gradually and assess how many more lies he might tell me. I knew the truth, but I just wanted him to confess. We strolled around for a while, but I lacked the courage to initiate the conversation, so I suggested we go home. I then received a call from him, and upon arriving at our local park, I found him in tears. I hurried to bring him water and food, and we sat on a bench to discuss matters. I asked him why everything had vanished from his Reddit history, even mentioning that I had seen it before he deleted it. He swore he had no idea what had happened, and once again I began to believe him, assuming that something must have gone wrong. I expressed my confusion, repeatedly saying, "I do not understand." When I inquired if he shared the account, he insisted that he did not. I asked him to call his brother just to verify that there was no possibility of his brother being on the account. He did call his brother in my presence, but after some silence and my questioning, he finally admitted that it was indeed his account and that he had deleted the history. Throughout these exchanges, I did not cry, but he was in tears. It was the second time I had witnessed him cry in our entire relationship. He assured me that he would change and that he did not want me to feel upset or angry when he confessed. I felt relief knowing that the proof I possessed had always been valid. The reason for my self-doubt stemmed from my not having taken a picture of the account name. However, everything matched on his cleared phone as only safe-for-work items remained. He essentially manipulated me into feeling crazy for believing that Reddit had randomly deleted his history. The next day, I examined all the proof I had and tried to find the videos from Safari to determine whether he had stopped watching pornography based on their upload dates. Unfortunately, I could not locate anything since he used an obscure website that did not show the date. All I had left was the information from Reddit. The following day, I decided to meet him again. He presented me with a card stating that he would change. It read, "I am sorry for everything and for lying to you. It was wrong of me to do so. I thought that sometimes hiding the truth would shield you from feeling upset about reality. It was a misguided approach and I am truly sorry. I acknowledge that I have not been the best boyfriend, but I am committed to changing all that and being different. I had hoped that this conversation would yield a different outcome. Instead, he merely reiterated the same lies we had already discussed. I do not believe he fully comprehended that I had actually seen what he was looking at and had taken pictures. Throughout this ordeal, I remained calm because I knew I was right. I suggested we play a game in which he would present his cleared phone, and I would show him the pre-cleared pictures so we could play spot the difference. I realize that sounds sadistic, but it was the only way I could cope with the situation through humor. He appeared shocked when he glanced at me and realized I genuinely had pictures and proof, leaving him unable to lie to me any longer. I regret not telling him what I had discovered the first time instead of repeatedly meeting him only to hear more lies. I reread his card to him, and it seemed he retracted everything he had previously said. This was supposed to be his second chance. I feel utterly devastated and am unsure what to do. He was my first everything, and everyone believed we were meant to be together. I wish there were a way to mend this, but I do not know how to move past the animosity and resentment I feel toward him. A few months ago on our 2-year anniversary, he gave me a ring. I attempted to return it, but he refused to take it back, so I considered tossing it into the nearby river. Ultimately, I could not bring myself to do that, so I went home, which was a 3-minute walk away, and retrieved the box it came in, packing up all the memories I wanted to remove from my house. I found him on the other side of the fence, searching for the ring I had thrown. I asked him to take the bag, as I no longer wanted any part of this. I requested that he inform everyone he cared about that we were no longer together and explain the reasons why. He pleaded for a second chance, suggesting I reconsider my decision, to which I responded that this was already his second chance. He began crying, and I could see that he felt remorse, guilt, and shame. To be honest, I am no longer as upset about what I discovered. I am more disturbed by the fact that he lied to me repeatedly, and I know that if I hadn't possessed physical proof, I would have started to believe him. I was happy with him even during our difficult moments. I envisioned a future with him, but now I am unsure of what to do. I am aware that it is not ideal, but I desire to give him another chance. He possesses many admirable qualities, and it is truly unfortunate that he could not overcome his addiction. I wish I could be oblivious enough to overlook this as merely another bump in our relationship. I wish I could stay with him. I wish I could forget this ever happened. I genuinely do not know what I am supposed to do. Everyone around me thinks he is an exceptional person, and I have attempted to maintain that image by not disclosing the issues in our relationship. I know that the most logical course of action is to end things. I cannot help but recall all the times I cried in his arms during this situation, while he continued to feed me more lies out of fear that I would become upset. Then I reflect on all the joyful moments we shared and how I pictured our future together. I know he loves me and wanted to protect my feelings, which sounds foolish but is true. I realize this might be a whirlwind of a story, but is there anything I can do if I choose to stay or if I decide to leave? Any advice would be appreciated. Story 2. My once perfect marriage is crumbling as my wife grows distant, staying out late with our friend John. I don't even know if I want to save this marriage, she said just before crashing the car. Now I'm left questioning everything as she spins our story. Can we reconcile? I am 43 female to male and my wife is 38 female. We have been together for 13 years and married for 9. We have 2 children, an 8-month-old daughter and a 2-year-old son who was recently diagnosed with autism. Our relationship used to be a model for others. We rarely argued, operated as a strong team, and emerged from significant challenges even stronger. In the eyes of many people, we were relationship goals. However, now everything feels like it is falling apart, and I have no idea how to fix it. There have been numerous stressors lately. I have been struggling to connect with our daughter since her birth. My father passed away 5 months ago, and that has been a difficult loss for me. Additionally, I have been bearing the financial and household burden since our daughter's birth, as I am the primary breadwinner and my wife is a stay-at-home mother. She has recently taken on some work to cover some of our son's medical bills. She has expressed that she feels unsupported, especially in managing both children and their appointments, while I have felt overwhelmed myself and also needed support. We discussed the possibility of me seeking mental health support to address my difficulties in connecting with our daughter and the grief I have been experiencing. I did reach out to a therapist, however my son's medical issues took precedence and I had to set it aside. My wife is upset that I did not seek help sooner. I am seeking assistance now, but it feels like it is too little too late and she feels that I have let her down. To assist with the children, we hired an au pair about 2 weeks ago. However, this is when things began to unravel. My wife became increasingly distant and critical of me over the smallest things. It feels as though I am walking on eggshells. After a week of this, I stopped engaging with her beyond the essential topics because the atmosphere was so volatile. I suggested therapy and she agreed, stating that she would schedule it. However, when I followed up, nothing had been arranged. I took the initiative to book a session myself, but instead of making progress, we ended up arguing and tensions escalated. We agreed that we needed space. I went to my mother's for a few days, but when I returned, the tension was unbearable. She informed me that if we could not be civil, she would take the children and leave. The situation escalated again when I said I would call the police if she attempted to take them. She stated that she would inform everyone we know that I had threatened to call the authorities on her. That was a few hours ago, providing a glimpse of the tension in my household currently. Now here is where things have me questioning everything. I believe my wife is at least having an emotional affair. Honestly, I would prefer it if it were just physical. It is probably both, but the emotional aspect is what concerns me. About 3 weeks ago, I noticed a significant shift in her behavior. We have a close friend, John, who is also transgender, whom we asked to be the godparent of our daughter. He has been experiencing his own separation, and my wife and I likely played a role in conversations that led him to leave his marriage rather than work on it. Now, I feel that John is doing the same for my wife. John began staying over at our house, and my wife and I decided to separate the children's sleeping arrangements, so she took our daughter and I took our son. John started staying in the spare room with my wife and daughter, helping her soothe our baby to sleep. My wife was impressed with his patience, while I was just exhausted and grateful for the assistance. John's son is also autistic, so my wife leaned on him for support regarding our son's diagnosis rather than engaging with me. However, things began to go even further off track. My wife started going out with John to dance and drink until 4 or 5 a.m. He would call her, crying about his own relationship, and she would leave me and the children to comfort him, returning late at night. The group chat among the three of us became quiet, and I noticed my wife and John were messaging each other for hours each day. Whenever we argue, she leaves the house to call him. I told her that I believe this friendship poses a threat to our marriage, and I am worried that they are having at least an emotional affair. She denies it, claiming that blaming him is an easy scapegoat for our issues and that I need to focus on myself instead. I also told her that I was uncomfortable with him coming over any longer, but she insists that I have no right to isolate her and has no intention of changing her friendship with him. She claims he has been a tremendous support to her, yet the truth is, she is not leaning on any of our friends who could assist in supporting our marriage. I know John's wife has suspected something for a long time, but I have always convinced myself that it was simply a queer friendship that she did not understand. Now, I am questioning everything. I feel as though she is no longer defending my reputation in my absence. She looks at me with disdain, as if I am someone she despises. She has even said she is unsure if she wants to save our marriage. I have tried to convey how much I want to work through this, yet I feel like I am losing her more each day. Every conversation becomes more heated and unpleasantness has crept in. There is no mutual care in our interactions anymore, and it feels like she is just accumulating evidence against me in every discussion to demonstrate how terrible I am. I feel blindsided by this change. I knew we had problems, but I did not realize it was this severe, nor did I foresee this development. I love my wife and children more than anything in the world, and I cannot imagine a life where I see them less than I do now. Here is where things deteriorated even further. The last time we talked about saving our marriage, she expressed uncertainty about wanting to try anymore. She was driving at the time, and I was genuinely shaken. I cried and told her that she had a responsibility to our marriage and our children to at least attempt to work things out. Then, while we were speaking, my wife crashed the car. Thankfully, everyone is okay and we have insurance, but my wife was extremely shaken by the entire incident. Since then, she has been telling people that I screamed at her while she was driving, which caused her to crash. I feel as though it is just adding more fuel to the fire. I am completely lost. We were once the couple that everyone admired, and now it feels like my marriage is crumbling. I still love her, but I do not know how to resolve this. What should I do? How do I approach this situation? Has anyone else experienced something similar? Is there hope for us to recover from this? We have counseling scheduled again this week, but I am uncertain how much can be resolved in 50 minutes. Summary: my relationship has disintegrated under pressure, and I am fairly certain my wife is having an affair. What should I do now? Story 3. Grandma's favoritism. My 6-year-old thinks grandma loves my daughter more. You only stand up for her because she's an adult, I said, but my mom defended her, claiming, you're just a bad mom. Now my son believes he's not loved. How do I fix this shattered family dynamic? I gave birth to my daughter when I was 20 years old, and she is now 22. As a single young mother, I received a great deal of support from my own mother. At times, the support was excessive, and she struggled with stepping back and simply assuming the role of grandmother, particularly when it came to discipline. For instance, if my daughter faced consequences for not cleaning her room, my mother would come over and tidy it up for her. When my daughter was in 9th or 10th grade, she was grounded, and my mother picked her up while I was at work. Instead of bringing her home as I had instructed multiple times, my mother took her to her house for the week and bought her new clothes at the store. Rather than allowing her to ride the bus or walk to school, our neighborhood was adjacent to the school parking lot, and most children walked. My mother would drive to Chick-fil-A to get my daughter breakfast, then drive another 20 minutes to my house to pick her up, and finally transport her just one street over to school in high school. I could enumerate countless other examples, but I have always felt like the outsider. My daughter and I share a strong relationship, but my mother's past actions have effectively created a rift between us, undermining my role as a parent. Fast forward to today, I have a 6-year-old son. We no longer reside in the same state as my mother. I partially moved away out of concern that she would treat my son as she did my daughter. I am visiting her for Easter. The other day we went out to dinner. There was a rather long wait and we ended up being out past my son's usual bedtime. Consequently, he was not in the best mood, although he was not misbehaving. While we waited for the check, my daughter reached over and snatched a fry from his plate. He became upset and stated that it was his and that he intended to eat it. I am uncertain of the truth of that statement, but it is irrelevant. As he voiced his feelings, she reached over and grabbed the last fry and ate it. He began to cry. I told my daughter that her actions were rude and that she should ask first before taking anything from anyone's plate. Even if he wasn't going to eat it, she should have asked first. At that moment, I did not care whether he was overreacting or not. We were both tired, and I now had to deal with the consequences of her behavior. No one was yelling. I was not even angry, just annoyed. My mother intervened and began insisting that it did not matter, that it was just 2 fries and so on. I responded that she was an adult and that he was 6, she knows better. My mother then said that the way I feel about my son is how she feels about my daughter and that someone needs to stand up for her. I clarified that she must realize they are both my children, my daughter is not her child. And once again, he is 6. She does not need to fight her imagined battles on her behalf. My daughter was already apologizing and trying to soothe my son because she recognized that her actions were wrong. We left thankfully. We were in 2 separate vehicles and my son expressed, "I know grandma loves her more than she loves me." This broke my heart. Fast forward to today, I am in the bedroom packing our belongings to leave tomorrow when I hear a commotion. My son enters the room and claims that my daughter stepped on his foot. I responded that was not nice, but it may have been an accident, so he returned to the kitchen and said she needed to apologize. My mother once again intervened, asserting that he was the one bothering her and that he got too close, causing her to accidentally step on his foot. Hurt, he told my mother, "I know you love her more than me," and ran back into the room crying, claiming that when he got stepped on, my mother pushed him away with her elbow. I went into the kitchen and asked her if she had heard what he said. She definitely heard him. My daughter stated that she heard him as well and that they were standing right next to each other, making it impossible for her not to have heard him. The issue is that she knows it is true and could not even force herself to tell him that it was not true and that she loves him. Instead of correcting the situation, she said to me that he only said that because he probably heard me say it. Why would she assume I am the type of mother who would tell my 6-year-old child that his grandmother loves his sister more than she loves him? Things escalated from there quite quickly. I brought up what happened at dinner, saying that I could tell her that others agreed with me yesterday, but she would still believe I was in the wrong. My daughter and I had already discussed the dinner incident, and she expressed that she hates when my mother behaves that way. My boyfriend also remarked that she was out of line. My mother's response was that they only agreed with me because they were afraid to disagree. What? She cannot be serious. I told her that she apparently had some preconceived notions about the kind of person she thinks I am, and that it was dictating her behavior toward me. She also stated that she was glad she did not live near me and that I did not have to visit or invite her on vacation again. I would never say that to my child. I wanted to leave, but I felt that it would be more traumatic for my son to leave abruptly at 8 p.m. when we were not planning on it. How can I even communicate with her? She clearly believes I am just some high-conflict bad mother whom she needs to protect my daughter from. I do not have conflicts with anyone else in my life. I have great friends with whom I have never had disagreements. My daughter and I have a wonderful relationship, and I feel that I appropriately discipline my son. However, anything I do in relation to my daughter results in my mother having something negative to say or think about me. Summary: my mother oversteps her boundaries, insists on fighting my daughter's battles for her, even those against her 6-year-old brother, resulting in my son feeling as though his grandmother does not love him.